Welcome to Mental Wealth, the podcast to invest in your mind. Here I will help you make sense of your mind and behaviours, giving you the tools to have your best life. There is so much to share, so let's get into this episode and explore another great topic. Welcome to episode 50 of Mental Wealth, the podcast to invest in your mind. I am so excited to be here today and for so many reasons, and I can't wait to share what they are. But firstly, I would like to introduce my special guest in this episode, Ian Beighton, who is the founder, host, author, and public speaker of So What's Your Story? Ian, welcome.
Alison, what can I say? The big 5-0. I am so excited to be in this virtual space with you right now because we aren't together, but we are in a virtual room. I was blessed to have you on my show, So What's Your Story? And here we are now. I'm on your show, and it's the 50th episode. And I just feel so humbled, so much gratitude inside of me, and just delighted to be here with you. And, you know, when you invited me on, I was like, what am I going to talk about? Because I've got a fascinating backstory. I really have. And I've had a colourful life. But I think really what I wanted to talk about today was, you know, the theme of what you've got here, what you're bringing into the public domain, and the magical work that you do, both individually and collectively, and the work that you put out there through the media, through your client base, and through this amazing podcast. And it's really purpose, Alison. I wanted to talk about purpose. Why we do what we do. What is our passion? What drives us? And also recognizing that at times on that journey, it can all become a little bit overwhelming.
Definitely.
And we need to pause, because if we're not careful, there's this, and it isn't oversubscribed, listeners, it's very, very real, burnout, right? Yeah. So thank you for inviting me. And let's just take a view on passion, purpose, and then recognizing when things are perhaps becoming a little bit too much.
Yeah. And I think you raise a brilliant point. There are a lot of people out there at the moment who are lacking structure, purpose, control of emotions, control of themselves, control of their workload or what they think is on their plate. But I think we should just come back to it out of something you said is, we do sometimes need to actually do the pausing to work out what is our purpose, what is driving us. Because what I observe is so many people are in autopilot. They're doing things in the same way. They're thinking about things in the same way. I can't do that. I haven't got the capacity to do that. And they're just in a trap of thinking in a certain way. So that means they don't really get to the bottom of their purpose. And we don't have to be stressed about it being a big life purpose. Some of us are blessed. I'm certainly blessed that I have found my life purpose. But I think that can feel a pressure that people are worried about, well, what is my purpose? What am I meant to be here for? But actually just almost that purpose in each day, in each moment, in each relationship, in conversations, what is it that's going on? And I believe that we need to pause to do that. Never mind just pausing and having time out and self-care. What's your thoughts on that, Ian?
I can totally relate to that. I'm going to share something right now, which is part of my story, which was 24 years ago. And due to circumstances outside of my control, I was put into a very difficult place. And I was very successful at a young age. In my early 20s, I worked incredibly hard. I was 14 hours a day was normal for me. I was a husband. I was a father to my first child. At the age of 23, I was the father to my second child, Lewis, who's my eldest, and Joseph, who's my Joe, as he prefers to be called, who's my youngest. So here's me, young, right, wanting to take on the world, but I've got responsibilities as well. Now, far into that journey, for circumstances which I will not divulge on this interview because they are very, very personal, but they will be talked about in my book that's coming out later this year. I attempted suicide, and it was quite a serious attempt, and I was certified dead. So why is that important to mention now? Because it's the build up to that. And had I have known what I know now, would I have gone to that point? I don't know, is the straightforward answer. But if there's anybody listening to this right now and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling that you have got to do certain things because of, and there's external pressures on you that are beyond your control, my advice to you is, if you find yourself in that space, pause, as you say, Alison, pause, take time for you. And it doesn't have to be these enormous leaps that may feel that they're just too much. Applaud yourself if you're being mentally challenged right now and you are feeling overwhelmed. Applaud yourself for the little steps. Getting out of bed might be one of them. Mm-hmm. Having a shower might be another. Washing the pots may be another. Doing your dirty linen may be another. Just getting dressed may be another. Do not give yourself unsurmountable expectations or listen to everybody else around you saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, right? Because you haven't. Mm-hmm. And I do feel truly blessed that my life didn't end, and I'm here to tell the story. And at the head of the episode, I spoke about purpose and passion. And I'm very blessed that I've found my purpose and I've found my passion. But again, don't worry about it. If you're, I've met people in their 60s that still don't know what their purpose and their passion is. I've met people in their 20s that are super, super stressed because they believe they should know what it is. Mm. And, Alison, you're an expert in this field, but very much so, talking from a personal experience, just take time out. Right now in my life, even now, I have some amazing coping mechanisms because I have a lot going on, right? Life can be very, very hectic for me. I get up at 5:30 every day and I start my meditations, my mantras, my relaxation, my little bit of yoga. That's my first thing I do every single day because that grounds me, that sets me up for the day. But during the day, things may be coming at me at a frightening pace sometimes. And you know what I do? I just pause. Yeah. I just say, okay, this is getting too much. I've got a beautiful dog, Duke, and I'm blessed to live where I do. But even if you don't live in the best of certain places, it doesn't matter. You can still make small steps. You can pause everything that's going on. Everybody can. Everybody. I don't really, have an appreciation for people who say, I just can't do that, Ian, because you can. You can pause things, even if it's for a few minutes.
Yeah.
The world is not going to end. And if you can take that self-time, trust me, you're better for yourself and for those around you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something I talk about a lot, is having the courage to stop doing what you're doing, or to even before that, to notice that you are in that space where you're overwhelmed or you're feeling very emotional. If you can feel you're very snappy with people or snappy with yourself or snappy with your tech, that usually means that you've gone into a different part of your brain, which means you're not going to be thinking straight. You're not going to be doing, if you're trying to work, you're not going to be doing your best work. And when I work with leaders and managers and things, I'm often encouraging them to notice when they or their colleagues are doing that, and to actually all go out and have a walk meeting or something similar. But I think the big thing that stands out for me, there's a few things there. When we talk about noticing that you've achieved something, from a brain perspective, it doesn't know the difference. The bit of the brain that matters, that gets these good chemicals going, it doesn't know the difference between you achieving an amazing diploma in some fancy thing, and you making a good cup of tea if you pause to say, I did a good job.
Yeah.
It doesn't know the difference. It's like a 2-year-old child. 2-year-old children don't know the difference between just colouring in nicely inside the lines and of be able to read a book. I mean, they just don't know the difference. So
Yeah.
I'm always saying to people, let's use the wiring of the mind to our advantage. So when sometimes people, particularly if they are overstretched, they can't see that the small things are going to make the difference, but they do. And I think that's something that I feel is really important, is that we do. You're missing a trick if you don't keep saying to yourself, well done me, that was good. I drove really well there. I arrived safely. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is, big, small, or indifferent. The mind needs that. It had it as a child all day long, and it needs it. Adults need it. So I love to talk about just being able to notice that and get something good from that. So the other thing that I think is really important.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing, and I've had people say to me, but Ian, you're doing okay. You got nice things around you, and okay, maybe I have, but you know what? I've had much more, and I've had nothing.
Yeah,
and the realization is, when I've had much more and I've had nothing, there's still a similar bunch of emotions going on. So your surroundings really are part of what's going on in here. And for those who are just listening to this in audio, I've just pointed to my brain, because that's the bit that, and I've not mastered it. I'm far from it. I'm a work in progress. But because of what I've experienced in my life, being in that absolute rock bottom, not wanting to get out of bed, personal hygiene lacking, and of course, ultimately a suicide attempt. Because I've been there, trust me, small things to me, I don't need any fancy pants restaurants. I don't need fancy pants hotels. I don't need flash cars. I don't need any of that. I do not need any of it. I'm very, very happy. In fact, my happiest moments for me are when I'm walking in nature with my dog and I pause and I see something that makes me just happy inside. It could be a bird. It could be seeing a swan going along the canal. It could be Duke picking up a stick and him tail wagging and him looking at me as if to say, isn't this amazing, Dad? Because I learn a lot from him. He's in a binary. He's in a binary moment. Dogs' minds are binary. And for those who don't understand that terminology, it means here and now. They're black and white. A dog will never lie to you. It can't.
Sure.
Okay. So when Duke does something, I watch him, I observe him, and I think, wow, he's so excited because he just found a stick.
Yeah,
he finds a stick every day, at least once a day, probably 2-3 times a day. But every stick he finds, oh my God, Dad, this is the most amazing stick, isn't it? Look. And his tail's going and he's happy. And I'm like, oh, Duke, amazing. What a beautiful stick. And then I think, why am I so stressed?
Yeah.
I'm breathing.
Yeah. Animals are good for us.
I can see, I can hear, I can taste.
Yeah.
My heart's beating.
Yeah. Definitely. I think animals can teach us so much in so many ways, because they don't think, they don't overthink the past. They're just in the moment, as you say, and they're not as far as we know, they're not as concerned about the future that we do, that we tend to do as humans. But I think something that I like to talk about a lot is choices.
Yeah.
Because no matter what your circumstances are, wherever you live, whatever you do, even when it doesn't feel like you've got any choices, you have. And I think one of the things I feel that this episode is for me is, I'm busy. I'm doing lots of things. I've got lots of activities going on, shall we say. I've got life. I've got my own life. I've got my business to run, just like everyone else. But sometimes we need to make a choice about something. And one of the choices that I've made about this podcast, of which I am really proud of myself and all my guests, that we've created a weekly episode for 50 weeks. and we've got 50 episodes.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and they're all there for everyone. And my offer is always, it's a conversation that people can listen to and hopefully take something from. You'll always hear me say, what's the one small thing that you can take from this conversation? But I have decided to take a break for the summer from recording podcasts because I needed to make some choices about what I was putting my time into, and how was I going to create the space. So if we just keep doing the same things and then not looking, so almost I did a bit of a bird's eye view on my business and thought, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? And this was one of the decisions I've made. And once you've made that decision, you have to make it wholeheartedly, because you then can't go into the, people, I could have gone into the, people will stop listening to it if I stop recording new ones, or all this noise that we tend to have in our minds. I could have listened to that, but I haven't. I've made a really happy choice that I'm really happy to be saying this is my 50th episode, and we are going to have a break here at Two Minds and recording. And I think this is the thing that we can positively do, can't we? We can make some decisions.
Oh, honestly, Alison, you've made such an amazing point there. And look, well done you. Well done you for recognizing that, because it sounds to me as if things were becoming a little overwhelming. And would you mind sharing with the listeners what happened to you? I mean, listen, this is what you do, right? This is what you do. But to just share with the listeners something that you shared with me off air. Would you mind? Is that okay?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm very real about me and my stuff. I don't ever say to people, don't ever think that everybody's got it sorted. I mean, you mentioned your work in progress. We all are, as trained as my mind is. I'm a therapist, NLP coach, and clean language coach, you name it, I've done it. But it doesn't stop me being human. It doesn't stop me needing to keep an eye on things and to reassess as I go along. So a few weeks ago, I hit a bit of a brick wall. It was just before a holiday, so I almost feel like my whole body was leaning so heavily towards this holiday. It's like I'd stopped. I knew I was stopping, so I kind of did stop. I hit a bit of a brick wall. But yeah, I needed to be able to just pause and just look at what I was doing, because what we all know we'll do is when we are overwhelmed or particularly tired, which is what my experience was, we've got to be really careful, because some of those negative thoughts, some of those old things, they're sitting in the wings waiting. And, we can easily, and I was listening to myself, I was listening to some of my old beliefs about myself that were part of my childhood. Oh, they were center stage, absolutely center stage. So here I am, I'm tired, so I'm not performing as well as I would like to. And then I've got these beliefs telling me, oh, well, you're not performing very well. Oh, well, you're not doing the right thing. And I was just in a cycle. And I think this is what, a lot of my clients come to me and they're in these cycles. And I think it is just about knowing that we're all doing it at some point and some level. And secondly, there are things that you can do, because there are things out there that make it look like it's easy. People are putting on courses. Come on my course and spend £3,000 and I will fix you. No.
That is so interesting. And it's this almost instant gratification society ebb that's eating its way wider and wider. And there is no such thing. And I listen to Oprah Winfrey quite a lot. I listen to Tony Robbins quite a lot. For those listeners who are you probably know Oprah.
Yeah.
You perhaps won't be so familiar with Anthony, or now as he calls himself, Tony Robbins. And you'll know from your background, Alison, these are the stalwarts of a lot of philosophy, but some great work as well, and examples of being leaders, leaders, top of their game, right? Now, Oprah uses this quote, and she actually uses two. She says, when you think about Lionel Messi, okay, so those who are into football, look him up. One of the world's most recognized, brilliant footballers. And she said Lionel Messi became an overnight success that took 22 years to get there.
Yeah.
And she said, and myself, people look at me and say, Oprah Winfrey, wow, look at what she's got. How can she be telling us how to overcome hardship? Well, Oprah Winfrey couldn't put food on her table at the one point. She couldn't pay her rent. And she equally says 27 years of a very successful show is perceived by some people to be an overnight success.
Crazy, isn't it?
You know, so there is this appetite and this unhealthy view and skew in the world that we live in now. And I'm not ageist, but you know, I feel for younger generations because they're surrounded by this.
Yeah.
You know, how many likes am I getting on social? What's my views on a video? Right? Oh, look at this person there. They were nothing 6 months ago. They're now a multimillionaire. Well, they may be, but there's lots and lots of millions of examples of ones that aren't.
Yeah.
And, you know, you may fall in a fortunate set of circumstances. I don't like the word lucky because I think we create our own opportunities. And that is something very, very different because an opportunity may come your way. And if you aren't smart enough or ready to take that opportunity, it may be a relationship. It might be a person coming into your life and you're just not ready for them, or they're not ready for you. It may be a career opportunity that you're just not ready for, or it isn't ready for you. But luck, although has a factor, I don't believe in it. I never have. I think that we create our own opportunities. And when we create our own opportunities, if we are ready, it could potentially materialize into something. There may be bumps in the road on the way. Failure is a great thing to encounter because it strengthens you. You'll learn from it. You will develop from it. If you are of the mindset to learn and develop and move on from it. If you just see failure as, oh my God, well, that's it then. I've tried to do a podcast and it failed. I'm obviously not cut out for that. That's up to you. That's your mindset. Does that all make sense, Alison?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me personally, and certainly with most of my clients for 30 years now, we have learned the best stuff from the more difficult situations, hands down.
Yeah.
Without fail, literally full stop. We learn about ourselves. We learn about things that we don't even know about ourselves through the things that are more difficult. So for me, being able to embrace that, being able to embrace the fact that something hasn't quite worked out, is it that it's the wrong direction? Is it the wrong thing? Is it the wrong time? The wrong people? Whatever it might be. And just being okay with that. But I think the other thing that I like to remind us all is, being a bit uncomfortable means that actually you are on the edge of something new. And I
love that.
I was sharing that with somebody. I was running a group yesterday for the Federation of Small Businesses, and that was my ending point. And they all really homed in on that: is if you are comfortable, you're not on the edge of your own growth.
Oh, I love that. And so many, I could go down so many rabbit holes now of examples of that in my own life where, let me, but before I do actually give an example, I'd like to just give this quote, which has just come to me. Things tend to just come to me, Alison. Sure. And when we talk about setbacks, I use this one. I know that every setback is a setup for a greater comeback.
Lovely. I like that a lot. And I think with that attitude, things will happen for you rather than to you.
Yes.
So you will learn because things are happening. It's all in the right direction. I mean, sometimes people find it really hard to believe that things are happening for a reason, but they usually are.
Oh, they usually are. They damn well usually are.
Even the rubbish, even the really
even those ones that you're like, oh, why? What, me? Why? Not again, right? And this is me philosophizing here, but I'm a spiritual man. I'm a Christian, and I believe that whatever your beliefs are, let me make this more wide. Yeah. Whatever your beliefs are, spiritual beliefs, and again, to quote Oprah, when she employs senior executives into her organization, she says to them, what are your spiritual beliefs? And they say, I'm not religious. And she says, I didn't ask you that. I asked you what your spiritual beliefs are. It's a very, very different thing. So let me go back to my point. Whatever your spiritual beliefs are, whatever your faith is, I know from my own experiences, I've had some horrendous things happen to me, and I have occasionally gone into the rabbit hole of why me. But actually, my mindset has developed over a period of time to say, what can I learn from this?
Definitely.
And
That's where the
that
power
is
is.
where the power really lies, because the situation, no matter how bad, is only temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing that I like to focus and home in on is having faith in yourself.
Yes.
If people have got faith in themselves, then you can have faith in so many other things too, but having faith in yourself.
That's a really good point. I want to talk about something which occurred to me recently, and I did a little reel on this on my social, but it's the word busy, Alison. I don't subscribe to it, I'm afraid, and the reason is because it is oversubscribed, it's overused, and there's two letters in the word busy. There's a B and an S, and we all know what that stands for without me saying it blatantly on air, and so I experimented with this. I thought about it. What can I? And I say to people, "Why don't you take time for yourself in the day?" And they say, "Ian, I can't. I'm just too busy." I'm like, "Well, what are you busy with?" And they say, "Well, I've got my family, my career, I've got the relationship, I've got this. I've got, oh, you don't understand, Ian. I don't know where to start. I'm just too busy, right? For your nonsense, your nonsense of take time for yourself." And I say, "Okay, ask you a question." I say, "Yeah." I say, "Can you show me your phone and show me your screen time?" And they say, "Well, what's that got to do with anything?" I said, "Well, let's just have a look." And they show me. I say, "Well, you've spent 2 hours browsing Facebook. You've been on WhatsApp for a couple of hours." Now, those who haven't seen my reel, we get 730 hours every month. Every single one of us, 730 hours is available to us, right? Now, my idea was to ask people to give themselves an hour a day. And there was this big kickback. No, please, you just don't understand. There's no way I can give an hour. All right, well, will you entertain me a little bit? Will you give me 30 minutes? No, I don't know whether that's possible either. Well, take a look at yourself and what you do in the day. Look at your screen time. The average screen time in the UK on a mobile device is 3 hours. In America, it's 5 hours. Now, add to that, because this is separate, add to that sitting down and binging a Netflix series, Amazon Prime, or watching useless TV. And I know that can be lighthearted, it can be healthy, and I get all of that. But if you're telling me you haven't got 30 hours a day, I'm sorry, but I'm going to challenge you. And what can you do in that 30 minutes? Well, you can do meditation. You can do relaxation. You can learn a new skill. You can read. You can talk to your children and just draw with them and read them a book. You can sit with your partner and reconnect and tell them, look them in the eye, hold their hand and tell them that you love them and they mean so much to you and you're very apologetic that you perhaps haven't been there recently. You can connect with your mother. I lost my mother in the 5th of November, and one of the biggest regrets is I used to speak to her every single day, but the biggest regret I have right now, and part of my grieving process, is that I can't talk to her anymore. So pick up the phone, speak to your mum, speak to your dad, speak to your sister, speak to your son, your daughter. I don't know what it is, but just in that 30 minutes, or just take time for you and do nothing. Put the phone down, turn the telly off, walk in nature, recharge. It's only 30 minutes. And at the end of this show, I would like to do something together, Alison, for our listeners, which is 17 seconds. Oh my God, if you're listening to this and say, Ian, there's no chance I can give you 17 seconds, I'm going to say to you, you do not deserve to change anything, because you're just going to have to accept what life throws at you. If you can't give 17 seconds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. But it's a mindset, as you say. It's when people are stuck. They're stuck either so they're low. I know if people have got low mood, it is very difficult to do some of these things. As hard as it sounds, we know that when somebody has got some aspects of mental health, it can be very difficult to get moving. And that's why little tiny steps, and I think that's what you're going to share with us, little tiny steps is so, so important. And being able to notice is what I'm always talking about. You've got to notice that you're in these spaces before you can make any change. And I think that's something that, a lot of people can start to do. And again, like I say, this is one of the reasons why this episode for me feels quite monumental, because it's time for me to just pause and do something different.
Yeah.
And I think as well, the other thing that kind of popped in my head as you were sharing there, Ian, is how you can make that positioning for yourself, make yourself important enough. Because if we don't believe that we are important enough to take some time out to do something different. And my stretch always is doing nothing is doing something.
Yeah, it is.
And people are scared. They're scared of doing nothing. They're like, I can't do nothing. I'm far too busy to do nothing. Well, no, actually, if you reframe the word nothing to whatever it is, sitting in nature, sitting with a nice cup of tea, whatever it might be, reframe that and make that happen.
Yeah, so, I think the danger is, though, Alison, when nothing becomes normal, nothing becomes everything, right? Yeah. So you do nothing all day, right? Yeah. That's where it becomes a bit of a challenge, because there's been studies done on mental health, and I know this is really a sweet spot of mine because I've had my own challenges and breakdown. Movement can do so much. Yeah. It can actually break a mood. You know this, Alison. You help people, and I know that you're very much into the preventative side of things, as well as finding the solution to overcome when you're in the trenches, when you are overwhelmed. Yeah. You're very, very good at it, and I applaud your work beyond belief. It's incredible what you do with and for individuals.
It means a lot to me, and I've taken my therapeutic angle into businesses and help leaders understand themselves so they can lead well. But I think what you've raised there about movement is interesting. This podcast comes out just after Mental Health Awareness Week, which has been all around movement. Their theme for this year was movement.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So the 13th to the 19th of May is Mental Health Awareness Week, and this year the theme is movement. So maybe,
wow,
yeah. So that will have happened, and I've done a post every day around something to do with mental health and movement every day of that week. But this podcast goes out just post that.
Yeah, and I want to. That's really, thank you for sharing that. And I want to just say to anybody right now, if you are struggling with your mental health, I've said it earlier, and it might sound easy for me to say because I know where you're at. I was in that very, very dark space where I couldn't see anything. Positive. I couldn't. And, my story is remarkable. It is. But you know what? I don't want this to sound harsh because it isn't meant to be. But the moment that I managed to change everything was when I looked in the mirror at myself and I said, this has to stop. You're bigger and you're better than this, Ian. Yeah. Do something. And the little something was having a shower. The little something was washing the pots. The little something was taking pride in myself. And the little something was starting to slowly build self-belief.
Brilliant. That is it. It's all in the small steps, isn't it? It's all in the
very small steps. It doesn't have to be massive at all.
I think that's where people get overwhelmed, is they're trying to do the bigger stuff when they haven't got some of the basics in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear what we're going to be doing for 17 seconds and share this with
you. All right. Okay. So part of my morning routine is gratitude. Okay. So every day I'm thankful for something. And again, I've shared this with people and they say, Ian, I really struggle to be thankful. And I say, are you kidding me? And they say, no. And I say, well, what about the breath you took this morning? Because I don't know the numbers on how many people die every day, but some people don't take that breath that we've been blessed to take today. So I would like to use this forum to together right now take 17 seconds. And I'm going to time it because, it feels actually longer than it is. So let me get my stopwatch going. And where I'd like you to go to right now, listeners, is to just take a pause. We've spoke about this theme throughout the episode. I'd like you to take a pause right now, close your eyes, and with me, inhale. But when you take that inhale of the breath, I want you to start to think about things you can be grateful for. It might be something really small. It might be that you did wake up this morning. It may be something bigger, that you've just got a promotion at work. It may be something, to do with your family, relationships, whatever it might be. But there is something in you that you are thankful for. I know there is. You know there is. So when we close our eyes in a second, we're going to inhale together, and then we're going to pause. We're going to pause and we're going to exhale. And this whole process is going to take 17 seconds. And when we exhale, we're going to hold for a little bit. I'll talk you through it. We're going to hold and pause the breath inward for a couple of seconds. I'm not going to say for a prolonged time because some people struggle to hold their breath for too long. And when we are in that moment, I want you to really think about something that you are extremely grateful for. And right at the end, we're going to, as we've exhaled and we've got our regular breath back, we're just going to say together out loud, thank you. So let's do this together. So close your eyes right now. Think about something you are grateful for, something wonderful. It could just be that you're here today. Let's inhale together. We hold that for a second. Whilst you're holding that, now with your eyes closed, think about it, feel it. Get in that moment, that headspace of that amazing person, that beautiful human being that you are, that is breathing today, and exhale. Think more about that moment, that thing that you are grateful for today, here, now. And now, out loud, just say, thank you.
Thank you.
And I want you to tell me, I want you to explain to me, I want you to share with me, and I know we can't talk to each other right now, but doesn't that feel so much better? And if you can do that every day for 17 seconds, trust me, things will change.
Yeah, definitely. I like to get people into good habits with that kind of thing, gratitude, setting intentions. The journal that I've made has gratitude in it for every day. So you're pausing and you're writing some things that you are grateful for. And it does bring you into the moment. It supports the mind to be present. It obviously, the attitude of gratitude creates abundance. It creates more of what you're paying attention to. So from a brain perspective, it absolutely 100% works.
See, Alison gives you the science. I just give you the example. That's why I love talking to Alison. I learn from her so much. but again, it is important. The point you made there. It's a little bit like going to the gym, right? You're not going to go to the gym and you're going to be out of shape. You're going to go to one session and then boosh, you've got the perfect body. You haven't. No. This mind of ours can be our best friend or our worst enemy. But if to make it our best friend, we need to do things consistently.
We do.
And positive affirmations, that little bit of breath work for 17 seconds there, every single day, right, is going to make an impact. If you do it once, you'll feel good temporarily. But if you want lasting long-term effects, and I know this is what you work with your clients, Alison, you give them the tools, the techniques for long-term lasting effect and change, then consistency is the magical source.
Yeah, definitely. And giving yourself permission to do these activities, giving yourself permission to take yourself to the mind gym by just, you can be standing doing your gratitude while you're just waiting for the kettle to boil instead of doing something else, instead of doing another task that needs doing. you could just stand while the kettle's boiling and just do it then. I don't know how long it takes to boil a kettle, but I reckon it'll be in the region of that sort of time scale. So it's perfect.
One of my morning affirmations I do, which is it's actually, I listen to something, that is an affirmation, and then I repeat it back.
Mm-hmm.
I do it whilst I'm in the shower.
Sure, exactly. It's about being resourceful. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to shower anyway. So why not make the maximum use of that time?
Yeah.
And there's so many things. And again, Alison, I know you'll agree with me on this. The first time you start to do these things, you might feel a bit silly, and you might actually think, well, it's not doing anything.
Mm.
Well, again, to use the gym analogy, you're not going to lift the heaviest weight in that gym straight off. Nobody is.
Nope.
You've got to build up to it. You've got to start with the small gym, the small repetitions. And the first few times you do it, you're going to ache the next day because your body's not used to it. And the brain probably isn't used to this as well. Exactly. But through those gentle steps, those little points, those 17 seconds, don't go for anything massive. You don't have to do the most craziest affirmations and try and change your whole being in one hit. That's probably not going to work. But small, gentle steps consistently, I believe you will feel and see a benefit. And to your point that you made earlier, we cannot pour from an empty cup. So if we're empty, if we are empty, if I'm empty, I can't give to anybody else. I've got to look after myself first. And once I'm charged, to use the mobile phone analogy again, if that battery's dead, I can't do anything with it. It switches off. If I recharge it to 100%, I can do everything with it. Mm-hmm. And we're the same. If I'm run out of energy, just like you, Alison, having this moment where you in your words, you were crawling into your holiday because everything had overwhelmed you so much, you're not much good to anybody else. Nope. But if your cup is full, metaphorically speaking, if it's overflowing, I like mine to be overflowing, I can give to others. But if I've got to do that self-work as well, I've got to recharge me. I've got to take time out for me.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, oh boy, not only am I no good for myself, I'm no good for anybody else either.
I totally agree. And one of the things that I've really loved about this podcast, creating it and then getting people's feedback about it, is that by them listening to this podcast just in itself means that they've taken some time for themselves. It might be on a walk, it might be in the car. Some people listen to it in the background while they're working, but just by listening today means that you have taken one small step towards doing something to help yourself. We're all on this journey together. I enjoy listening to other people's conversations because we always get those little nuggets that you can run with. And I hope that this whole series and all these 50 episodes have got many nuggets for many, many people. And I'm going to urge everyone to keep listening to them because you'll hear different things each time you listen, or obviously go and find other podcasts. And just before we finish, Ian, just tell everyone a little bit more about So What's Your Story?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I started on this journey. I guess my fascination with people. I've always been passionate about people and fascinated by them. And I remember my earliest recollection is 7 years of age. I'm from Leicester, so my mum was very Leicester accent. Where's our Ian? That's very Leicester. Where's our Ian? Well, we're on holiday, we're in Spain around a pool, and our Ian is sitting at the bar, and he's 7 years of age, and he's got a free plate of chips, and he's got a free Coca-Cola. And I'm talking to the waiters and the waitresses, and I'm sharing my story, and they're sharing their story. That continued throughout my life. So now I have this platform. So what's your story? No apostrophe on the what's for domain and intellectual property reasons. And it's been incredible. Absolutely incredible. Last year, I was nominated for the British Podcast Awards. I'm listened to in 52 countries around the world. I've had some amazing guests, including yourself, Alison. Thank you for that. And what is the undertone of the story? What is the reason? Why do I want people to share their stories? Because as you say, Alison, when we listen to a story, hopefully something comes out of it that we've not heard before. Maybe we've got an insight. Maybe it helps us to think differently. And my podcast invites my guests from various backgrounds. I've had actors, best-selling authors, former FBI agents, Cecilie Fjellhoy from the Netflix sensation Tinder Swindler, Charlie Michael Baker, who has 1.4 million followers, who wrote a book, Autism and Me. They've all been on my show. But do you know what the common theme is? Overcoming adversity.
Sure.
They've all, including you, Alison, they've all had a part of their life which has been difficult, which has been horrendous in some cases, which has almost cost them their lives in some cases. But guess what? As we've spoke about today, they got through it.
Yeah.
They overcame the adversity, and almost like a Disney film, there was a happy ending.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we'll put in the show notes your podcast so that people can go over and have a look.
Thank you.
Quickly and easily. So, thank you so much, Ian, for coming and sharing this space with me, and for us to talk about challenges that we are all facing, but actually to bring it wholeheartedly, bringing it wholeheartedly to the end of this series for mental wealth. And we will be back. It might look a little bit differently. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to wait and see what feels right. But I am blessed to have had 50 guests and some amazing conversations. And I would urge anybody to almost start again and go and listen to them all again, because there are nuggets in every single one, and different people are offering different things. So we can be like little sponges, and each aspect is a little bit of your jigsaw.
I love that. And thank you for inviting me to be on this monumental one, the 50th. It's been an absolute pleasure, Alison. And I've listened to a number of your back catalogue, and I've got some really valuable knowledge from that and insights. So thank you. And I do completely respect you for taking that line in the sand and saying, do you know what? Something's got to give. And you quoted the Arnold Schwarzenegger famous line there, I'll be back. I'm sure you will.
I will. I'll be back in some shape or form or other. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's listened today and to any of the other episodes. I wish you all well. Thank you for listening and sharing in this episode of Mental Wealth. Remember, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast. My last question to you is, what is the one small thing that you can take action on from this episode? Message me on Instagram or through our website with questions you'd like me to explore. You'll find the links in the show notes. I'll be back with more tools and tips to make sense of your mind in the next episode. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. Bye for now.